Hello, my darling listeners. I have a quick announcement for you. If you're just now, as of June 22nd, 2023, finding our show, first of all, welcome and thank you for listening. And second of all, we want to let you know that we are now on Patreon. And if you would rather listen to this episode and all of the episodes to follow ad-free, then head on over to patreon.com/perfectlymarvelouspodcast, link in the description. And yeah, sign up for our Tits Up tier, where you can listen to all of our episodes ad-free for just $5 a month. Just $5, 5 little tiny doll hairs. And you'll get all of our episodes over there ad-free from now on. And our listener feedback episodes will also be video episodes. It's a whole bunch of fun. We would truly appreciate it. And we truly appreciate you, all of our listeners, regardless of where or how you choose to listen to us. But if you really love what we're doing and you'd like to patronize our perfectly marvelous efforts, we would so greatly appreciate it. This podcast is a labor of love, but every little bit helps as we continue to, give you guys more content, quality content. And throwing us a little coin, really helps us take more time to work on the show for you guys. And we have some exciting stuff in the works. We got interviews coming up, and we're going to be covering Only Murders in the Building. So you're going to have a lot of perfectly marvelous content. So yes, keep listening for those announcements. Join us on Patreon. Don't forget to come over to Facebook and join our Facebook pages for Maisel and Only Murders in the Building. And all the links, are in the show notes of this podcast. So thank you very much for listening, my loves, and enjoy the show. Tits up. Well, hey there, you. Yes, I mean you. Have you just finished watching an episode of your favorite television program, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? Are you looking for a podcast to enhance your viewing experience? Well, look no further. Welcome to Perfectly Marvelous. Join our hosts Erica, Kara, and Jade as they provide you with hours of witty banter, behind-the-scenes fun facts, and oh, so much more. Now sit back, relax, and get ready for a perfectly marvelous time. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Jade.
I'm Kara.
And I'm Erica.
And this is Perfectly Marvelous, a podcast dedicated to the magnificent, the magical, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Today we are covering Season 5, Episode 9, the final episode of the series, called,
oh my God,
can you believe it, 4 Minutes.
Written by Amy Sherman Palladino.
It's like I can't even get over it, you guys.
It's so weird that it's actually wrapped up.
I have chills.
I know, it's surreal. I didn't even know how to say those words one last time. Well, I don't know if it'll be the last time because, a couple of things before we get started. We were just talking about whether or not we're going to continue with the podcast and start, a rewatch. And we're all really wanting to. We just don't know when that would be coming out. We're going to definitely take a wee bit of a break just to refresh ourselves so we don't get too, burnt out on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, because this has been an effort. This has been a journey. This has been a lot, but it has been amazing. And
we do not get paid by the hour.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah. We'll get there, contrary to some Apple Podcast reviews.
It's you guys are getting paid? Wait a second.
I know. Paid. We're not getting paid anything. Yes. But no, I'm going to need to take a break because announcement, I am starting a new podcast with my friend Paul. I'm very excited about this. And so I'm going to need a second to kind of get that started, get that ready. And just so that you guys know what's going to be coming up from me, if you're interested in listening to another one of, my Jade talking hours, lots of hours. It's going to be called Shall We Compare Thee? And it is a podcast all about films and their remakes and sequels. So mostly classic films and then the modern, remake of that film. And, does it hold up? How does it compare? All that good stuff. So there will be announcements about that podcast on this feed in case you guys are interested in subscribing to it. So yeah, when that comes out, probably in about a week, we'll have our first episode. And that episode will be on Psycho and the shot-for-shot remake.
I do like that podcast
I'm really
name too. Shall we compare these?
I love it.
Perfect.
Yes, very Shakespearean.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something coming up. And another thing coming up, we've got that interview with Matilda Szydigis.
Yay!
With Zelda. Yeah, that is coming up. And we are just, I'm just emailing with her right now, figuring out when we can schedule that. But it should be, within the next week. So if you guys have any questions that you want us to ask her, send us those questions, email us at perfectlymarvelouspodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, we're really excited for that. And also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Perfectly Marvelous Cast. And yeah, reminder, Only Murders in the Building starting in August. Premiere date is August 8th. So mark your calendar.
I'm so excited.
Yes.
So
we are so excited. I can't wait. We're going to be doing a rewatch of seasons 1 and 2 and coming out with a little recap episode for each of those seasons before we get into the 3rd season. So exciting. And I think that is all. Oh, I have one other thing. I just want to issue a public apology. Much like Abe, I wish I could write a 1,500-word apologia, but I can't. So I have been saying David Mullen's name wrong every time I talk about it. His name is M. David Mullen, and he is the cinematographer of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I think I was calling him like David Muller or Mueller. I don't know. So apologies. Carol Channing moment. Yeah. So that is all I have to say before we get started. I just can't wait to get into the discussion. So without further ado, let's start the show. Tits up.
Tits up.
Tits up!
Woo, woo, woo.
Was truly no less than a crime. Now I've this perfectly marvelous girl in my perfectly beautiful room, and we're living together and having a marvelous time.
Oh, Sally, I'm a...
All right, as always, we will be starting our most marvelous moment.
Dawes?
Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that marvelous?
With Kara. Take it away.
I have just decided right now what my most marvelous moment is, because there were so many that I wanted to pick from during this episode. But I think the moment that I got just like felt the most choked up is when Midge finally like sits down on the couch and makes eye contact with Susie, and they're both like grinning and they've got tears in their eyes, and it was just like that final realization that they've done it. Like, Midge has made it. This is it. She's on the couch. And I just like, I was crying pretty much that whole scene. Like, not like bawling crying, but just happy laughing tears. And I think that was probably my favorite, most satisfying moment of the episode, is when she finally got to sit on that couch and she and Susie were able to lock eyes and acknowledge each other.
You're talking about the moment Susie puts her hand to her chest.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I was just like, oh, and Rachel Brosnahan, there's an interview where she talks about how that was the last scene that she filmed, that whole thing, and that she and Alex Borstein like could not even look each other in the eyes that day.
Yeah.
Until that
They're
moment.
looking at each other's foreheads.
Yeah. It's like, that seems fair. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because it felt, there was no acting in that moment. Like, it was so real. And I was just like, oh, They did it. This is wonderful.
Yeah, I loved that it was right before, like, we see that Midge acknowledges, like, her parents. She acknowledges everyone in the audience, and she's looking out the audience. And the very last person, right before it fades to the next 2005 scene, it's Susie. That's the last person she sees. And the way Susie just, like, exhales, just like, oh, we just gave fucking birth to this child that, like, just came into the world. Like, they just became, like, proud parents or something, And, like, that's the feeling that I got from that moment,
Oh, yeah.
They're just like in this
Not
together.
agree more.
And Susie's just looking at like her other
Ugh.
person, her like other, you know,
I
her
have
other half, and
chills
she's so proud.
thinking about it again.
I know. When I like was saying those words, the what is it? The magnificent, the magical, the marvelous Mrs. Like it was like hard to say that at the beginning of the podcast. I was like, don't cry, dude, don't cry. Like, why am I so emotional right now? Oh my God. It's because I'm sick. That's sorry, listeners. That's why I hope I don't sound too bad. And that's why the podcast is coming out a little bit late because I don't know what it is. Something's going around. I don't know if it's allergies or what, but I feel like it's got to be more than allergies because I was sick for a couple of days.
Oof.
So apologies. And you know how when you're sick, like you're just super emotional? This was not a good time for me to watch this episode. I was
and watch it multiple times too.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to watch it a lot to podcast.
See, I was cranky when I first watched it, so I'm glad I watched it multiple times.
We forgot to post our awful selfies, our ugly cry.
We'll have to do that. No, mine was definitely an ugly cry moment.
Ugly cry, yeah. Kara and I took selfies of ourselves, our ugly cry faces after we watched the finale. Erica forgot.
It's okay.
Because she sucks. Erica's like, I forgot.
Yeah,
that's it.
Nobody needs to see that, but I did unintentionally wore Midge's gray with fuchsia today, and I
my gosh, you did.
Yeah, it's on, I wish I had the hat.
Very on theme,
but no selfie, no laugh, cry, ugly cry.
Oh gosh,
next time.
Yeah, we got to post that on Instagram. Don't let me forget. Okay, Erica, what was your most marvelous moment?
I do agree with Kara. My first moment that came to mind was when Midge closed the door of Gordon's office and her absolute joy. She did it. Her little dance,
that
and then the secretary.
Cute.
It was so cute. I was so joyful and filled with I was so filled with that excitement. I think I cheered. I mean, it's before we found out that Gordon was going to be a dickhead, but it was like that moment. I'm like, yeah, girl, yeah, you did it. It was so wonderful.
That was almost my most marvelous moment for the reason that background actor, that lady, just I loved her reaction to it. She turned around and interacted with her a bit. And you can tell that she wasn't meant to do that. She just had to do it because she just felt it in the moment. And I was like, yes, random background actor. I love you. I was so happy about that moment. Yeah.
Oh, that was precious. Jade, I thought about you the entire Gordon Ford section of this episode.
Oh, God. Yeah, we'll get there. I'm going to try not to dwell on it too much. I want to focus on happy things.
At least he lived up to his jerky ways. He lived up to it. He was a jerk.
Yeah. And I've decided that I'm now in love with Mike instead of Gordon Ford, so it's all good.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
It's fine.
What the ever-loving what? Oh, it was so good. Okay, so, all right. My most marvelous moment is... Okay, you guys know Rose Marin Hinkle is my favorite. So but I could not choose between two moments back to back, right? Where Rose finally comes around and she gets on board the Midge support train. And it's when she gets those 4 phone calls in a row and then she hangs up and she turns to Abe and she says, "How long have we got?" And he's like, 1 hour, let's go. Aww. And she grabs her coat and hat and runs out the door. And I know a lot of people will be annoyed at that was, my most marvelous moment because Rose is acting like such a shit. And it's true. right before that, I was saying out loud, "No, Rose, you stop it. Do not be this way. No, stop it, Rose." I was so upset at her. It's like, what are you doing? But and I'll talk about it when we get there. But when she just turned around like that after getting those phone calls, I was just the way that she was like, "How long do we have? Let's go." She got so excited. And so then my next moment is when the two of them were walking down the street talking about the cab whistle. And this made me really excited because, by some random chance, a few days before this episode came out, I clicked on a free film on YouTube one day. I just, wanted something to put on in the background when I was half watching I was doing other chores and laundry, and I just wanted something to put on real quick. And it's called Quick Change. this film. And it's a great film. I highly recommend it. It is the only film that Bill Murray ever directed, and he's also starring in it. It's got Gina Davis, Jason Robards, who I love, and he's so good in this. Phil Hartman, Randy Quaid, Philip Bosco. He plays a bus driver. Oh, God, you guys, this is like a star-studded cast. And it's like, I can't believe I've never heard of this film before. So, and like, I won't spoil it, but it's incredibly theatrical and very funny. The humor is very underplayed, how, you know, Bill Murray usually is. So I'm watching this and I'm like, wow, this is so much better than I thought, this like random free movie that would be on, you know, that I just picked out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden, Tony Shalhoub shows up as a cab driver, driving them to the, he's driving them to the airport. And I thought it was really funny because he played a cab driver in this show called Wings. It's a 1990s show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, my
So,
gosh.
okay.
That show.
Okay. But I found this great article where Tony Shalhoub talks about the film. And he said, I lived in New York in the 80s, and one of my very first movies was a Bill Murray movie called Quick Change. It's this really crazy movie with Gina Davis and all these people. And it was one of my first movies, but I was mostly doing night shoots. I was playing a foreign cabbie. I was also rehearsing on Broadway. We were the first cast in the Heidi Chronicles. I would rehearse from like 11 in the morning to 5 or 6 at night and run out of the rehearsal room, jump in a van for the movie production, and they'd take us out where we were shooting in Queens. I'd go home when the sun came up at like 5 o'clock, go to bed for 5 or 6 hours, get back up, go to rehearsal, and I would just do this for 3 or 4 weeks. And it was so fun. I thought, it's never going to get any better than this. Here I am rehearsing for a Broadway show, and I'm in a movie with all these great people in New York City. They had me invent a gibberish language because they wanted it to be like an unidentifiable thing, Shalhoub said. So I just made up my own dialogue. It was just a really crazy movie. And I thought that was just so cute, so I had to include
That's adorable.
that. And it gets deeper. So this TV show on Wings, it came out right after this movie. And it's Tony Shalhoub. He plays Antonio Scarpacci, who's an Italian immigrant who owns and operates a taxi service to take people to and from the airport. And so most likely he got that role because of his small appearance in the Bill Murray Quick Change movie.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
When Rose said you didn't let Antonio blow the whistle, I was like, wait a minute. Is it my crazy imagination, or didn't he play it wasn't that the name of his character in that weird show, that 90s show that like I remember was on as a kid? And then so I thought I was inventing it because I barely remember it from my childhood. But I got so excited when I realized that I was right. And I got so excited when I realized I had just randomly seen that Quick Change movie. I'm like, what are the odds?
That is so random.
It's so random. So anyone who's interested in watching this movie, I highly recommend it. It's free on YouTube right now. And Wings is on Paramount Plus right now. But I have to play... So this is Tony Shalhoub as Antonio in Wings. I just have to include this because if you want to, I want my listeners to laugh. Guys, get ready. It's so funny. Okay, here you go.
I didn't know you played guitar, Antonio.
I only started a few months ago.
Can you play us something?
Well, there is one American folk song I used to hear in Italy. For years, it was the only English I knew.
I'll play that.
My goat knows the bowling score. My goat knows the bowling score.
Excuse me. I think it's Michael row the boat ashore.
Get out.
He is so cute. My goat knows the bowling score.
I like those lyrics better.
Yeah.
Oh my God. When I heard that, I damn near fell off my seat. I don't know why that tickled me so bad, you guys, but that just got my funny bone real hard. I was like, this is so funny.
Precious.
Okay, and so this is Tony as the cab driver in Quick Change. I have to play this too. Just get ready for it.
Was the clown? Tell me now. What the hell is this, Ratzinger? Since when is it illegal to run for a bus? Blaftoni. Blaftoni. A bus? Yeah. Since when is that a crime? A bus? Blaftoni. Blaftoni. Bluff Tony? Bluff Tony. Bluff Tony. They're on a bluff, Tony.
They're on a bluff, Tony. That's Jason Robards. So you got to see Tony Shalhoub's face when he's doing this, though. He's like miming a bus, and he's making that honking sound with his own like voice. Like it sounds like a real horn. It's so funny. His character in that is like, because he doesn't make a word of sense. You know, he's just speaking like gibberish. But it really got me. I love Tony Shalhoub so much, y'all. I was just reminded, so like, oh my God. Like, I'm telling you, he's one of my favorite actors of all time. Anyway, that was a long, marvelous moment, but it was great.
Well, I'm curious what you guys thought, like what your first reaction was once it was over after your first watch.
I wanted more. I wanted more. I was like, not that that's it. I was like, I want more.
Mm-hmm.
I had the thought right before it ended. As soon as Midge got up and started doing her stand-up, I was thinking to I checked to see how much longer there was, and I was like, no, it's almost over. And I got really sad. And then I just said out loud, right as it's getting back to exactly my favorite Mrs. Maisel, like the way Mrs. Maisel is my favorite. You know, Susie and Midge, they were so together in this episode. They were just such a team, just like old times. Everything about this episode felt like classic Maisel, like season 2, season 3, like right in that sweet spot when it was just rocking. And I was like, right as it's getting back there, it's going to end. That was my thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I first finished it, I felt kind of let down. Like I loved watching it. Like, as I was watching it, I was really happy with it and enjoyed it. And then, like, as it ended, I was just like, no, wait. Like, I need more than this. But now that I've watched it, like, 4 times, I like it a lot more.
It's pretty good. Yeah. They wrapped it up. They stuck the fucking landing, man. They did.
Yeah. And they didn't extend it that long. What was it, like an hour and 15 minutes you know, versus, like, the normal hour? And they really kind of touched everything that made it.
That mattered.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like it was a very good, like we know the Palladinos like to do full circle crap when they can, but this is one time where I think it really, really worked for them. And it was on their terms, finally, on how to
And they
end
gave
it.
us some closure, and they gave us some answers, like, you know, why Shirley and Moish were not at like the what was it, a bar mitzvah? I forget when the Susie and possibly they were in Boca Raton in their condo, or maybe, you know, who knows where they, so maybe that's possibly why we didn't see them in all the flash forwards, was because they're in Florida.
Yeah, that was nice.
Retired.
We can assume they're like happily living in Florida and not dead somewhere.
Yeah.
no one died that we could see. And I was very pleased about that. Yes.
Although
I didn't want to cry.
That's true. Like they did say in an interview, I think it was a Vanity Fair interview, that they just assumed that Rose had cancer and that was how Rose passed away. But at the same time, I was like, all right, well, I'm glad you didn't make us watch it then, because that would have been a lot in one final episode. Just too heavy. Yeah. Same thing with their decision.
It was implied.
Right? Like, we don't need to see Lenny Bruce die. Like, we saw his, you know, his stand-up and that, you know, real infamous 65 show.
Oh, nice segue.
Yep.
So let's get into our I do. You're always I call you Segway Jones.
Yes.
Segway Jones.
Yeah. I hope I'm saved in your phone like that now.
Oh God, yes. Where you guys are under the Triple Crown bitches.
Yes.
Seggy Segway Jones and Pisces sister from another mister.
Pisces powers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So, all right, Erica, get into it. Yeah.
So we're segueing from our marvelous moments, which were far more happier, to Lenny's 1965 stand-up in San Francisco. So this started off awkward, quiet, really uncomfortable. Lenny looks, you know, disheveled. He doesn't look well. He's hunched over.
He's like hacking. There was that hacking.
He doesn't.
He is just
not looking well. He's definitely lost that charisma that he's had on stage, that drive, the tenacity that made him famous and made him so good at what he did. The thing is, I think, is that his battle with the courts really is probably what killed him more so than the drugs. It like he was not allowed to perform anymore. They took away his rights. And I did see, like, just by doing a little bit of research, that it even went up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And they did eventually, the Illinois Supreme Court did rule that his routine was not obscene, which is good. And that luckily, I think it was back in 2003. So how many years later after he died, they pardoned him finally to uphold the First Amendment in New York. So it's nice that Governor George Pataki, decided to pardon him, but it was, of course, a little too late. And,
just a little,
and it was in a different
tad. decade.
Yeah. Not only decade,
different
it was
millennia.
Like different millennia. Yeah. So it's really sad that, the pioneer he was for comedy, but also just to be, as he called himself, he observes things. That's his thing. But the pain that he went through and the suffering that he went through, the legal battles that he went through really took a toll on him. And although his name apparently drew that audience, they were not there to listen to him. They didn't want to hear about his legal problems. There was barely a laugh. There was barely a giggle. There was a lot of groans and murmurs, and it just was sad. And then, like, when he was mentioning the whole situation about how he was, like, accused of pantomiming masturbation and doing something obscene, he was really quick to say, like, no, I would not, because I know it offends chicks and what frightens chicks. He gets back into that kind of beatnik, language.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like they just didn't get him. But he was a target to what this happened. And it was a really depressing, really sad, very understated way of seeing that. Yeah.
Rough.
Do you guys think that it was just a joke when he said they didn't know that they were booking me? They thought they were booking who was it?
Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I think it was a joke. I thought it was funny because of Bruce Lee, Lenny Bruce, but I think it was a joke.
Because why else would those people? Because those people, I don't know why they were there if not to see Lenny Bruce,
Yeah.
But what I also think is the case, it's like Amy Winehouse toward the end of her career, right? People didn't pay a ticket to see her perform. They paid to see her. Oh, I want to see how fucked, what she can do.
They wanted to see the train wreck.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so fucked up.
It's just really depressing.
Suck.
Well, and Luke Kirby, I thought there are multiple interviews out there with him talking about, how they wrapped up Lenny's story, but one that stood out is he talked about how rough it was filming this scene because the audience, like those background actors, were told specifically not to laugh and not encourage him and all of this stuff. And I can imagine that would be very helpful in that scene, like as an actor, but at the same time, he talks about
it's gotta feel so bad,
like how horrible it felt. And I was just like, man, I cannot imagine like the real Lenny Bruce, who is just like becoming kind of obsessive and consumed by his legal issues and being a shell of himself, essentially. Like it made me really sad, honestly, to think about that talent going to waste like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one fun uplifting fact is that they found a reference book. They said the costume designer of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where it went into detail about the coat that Lenny Bruce was wearing at this Basin Street West show that was, really happened. And so they rebuilt the coat. They found out the designer of it and they specifically rebuilt a replica. And I was like, oh, that attention to detail is why this show is so good.
Seriously.
Very good. And just thinking back about where the last time we saw Lenny on stage was back at Carnegie Hall to now where he's at. so many years later. It's also 4 years later since the Gordon Ford show. So, but we don't know that yet.
Right.
And we know now that Midge is, have found some fame. She is, now doing really well. And Lenny he's at his lowest point, obviously. So, and we see somebody is in the audience, and it's Susie, and she does not look happy one bit.
Aww.
And he even goes to do that little dance, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the second hand embarrassment was so real. I'm like, oh no, it's too much. And then the woman just walking across like right in front of him. It was it was heartbreaking.
That hurts.
Yeah, the way he's
really
like, hello,
was.
Dirty Lenny is here. Dirty Lenny is going on soon, the pornographer.
Yeah.
And then when he ends the set and he goes, look, I really dug working with you. As Will Rogers once said, I never met a dyke I didn't like, and good night. I was like, Will Rogers was a vaudeville performer, actor, social commentator.
Yeah, he pulled some funny things out, but that audience didn't find it funny.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah. And I just have to say, though, Luke Kirby is so amazing because, guys, it is hard to act badly on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you guys, is it just me who always, when I think about, performances that are supposed to be bad, like on, when an actor has to bomb intentionally, I think of Rue McClanahan on the Golden Girls at the Rusty Anchor.
Yes.
She's singing, I want to be loved by you. It's just, genius level though. Like that is so hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
And to make an audience, I was just cringing watching Lenny in the same way that I cringe when I watch like Blanche,
Yeah.
He was brilliant.
But also, oh God, he was brilliant. And like, when he tries to remember that bit and he's got the way that he had like his head down and he's like doing the snap, like, oh, how did that bit go? And just stumbling over his words. And it's so tightly scripted too. Like he's not, this is not ad-libbing. This is very tight script. So God, I couldn't, but I was reminded of how I was just mentioned Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse and Judy Garland had this thing that toward the end of their career when they were really high, they were drunk, they were whatever on stage, and the audience would start to boo them. The audience would be like, get off the stage, what the fuck is wrong with you? And they'd be mean to them, basically.
Yeah.
They would like turn into children, and they would, I have seen videos of both Amy Winehouse and Judy Garland doing this thing where they like start kind of like shuffling their feet, and they like start to kind of like pout and like sway side to side like a child would, like when they forgot their dance moves in their dance recital.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because it's exactly how I felt Lenny was when he started dancing like a class clown, like a child wanting to please an audience and just do anything to be funny. Oh God, it was just so uncomfortable.
It was
painful.
Yeah. I honestly think that even if they gave us like say the funeral, like it couldn't have been more sad than what they gave us here, like where he lost it, like he lost his talent on stage, and he lost his tenacity.
This show was the penultimate show in his career. This was a year before he died, and this show actually happened in real life. This was, I think, the second to last show that he ever did before he died a year later, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
And that song, that Bob Dylan song, I love that song so much. My ex used to sing it to me as Queen Jade. But the lyrics to that song, when your mother sends back all your invitations and your father to your sister, he explains that you're tired of yourself and all of your creations. Won't you come see me, Queen Jane? Won't you come see me, Queen Jane? I got chills when I heard that song. I was like, what more perfect song could they have picked? Oh,
they did
God,
a very
so
good job with the subtle musical selections in this.
The music was fire this episode. I mean, it
really
always is. It always is. Who are we kidding? We say that every time.
I know.
Yeah, they did such a good job. And then we go to backstage, and he is just slumped over in his chair, and just completely defeated. Just wants to go home or wherever he wants to go. We were talking about it earlier, like waiting for Slim, who we think is his driver.
We all thought was his. Well, we all thought
dealer.
Yeah, and then it's in an article that it was his drug dealer. I mean, it was his driver. I'm
yeah,
like, okay.
but we know that he had an addiction, and and it's how he passed. So it's only
Probably
sad
both.
to,
I'm sure that Slim was helpful in getting him. What he needed,
he might have been. He might have been. So we know that something is going to come, but Susie confronts him just to just to see what's going on with him. Does he remember her? And of course, there's the joke about oh, didn't he used to be a man? And luckily Susie shot him down really quick, but I was happy to he did remember her. He remembered the gaslight. He remembered meeting her with Midge, so long ago. We also learn now at this point in 1965, she is now the manager of Dick Gregory, Phyllis Diller, Eartha Kitt, Dick Capri.
No, I think that he says the wrong name. He's
I was going to say, who's Dick
congrats
Capri?
on. He's also a comic. So Dick Gregory was I believe he's black.
Yeah,
comedian.
wasn't he in? I'm going to look. I feel like we have to look that up because when I thought of Dick Gregory, I was thinking of the guy from The Shining. So I know that's probably wrong.
No, that's not. No, that was.
I don't think that's not him.
No,
but I think his name was Dick in the movie. Let's take a second and look and see who that is because his name fails me. Well, he apparently was in The Hot Chick, Dick Gregory, which was a comedy.
You know what? I actually liked that movie.
I think that was his last movie. He passed away in 2017.
Aww.
Oh, you know why you thought it's Scatman Crothers that's in The Shining? I couldn't think of his name. And it's because his name is Dick Halloran.
Dick in the movie. Yes,
yeah.
That's why I thought about it. But I'm trying to look and see what he did.
They look very similar though.
In the 60s.
But I thought it was funny the way that he was like, "Oh, congrats on repping Dick Capri. He's a good comic," because he's that out of it. He didn't realize it's that's a different person. I know. I was confused.
Yeah. So he was a comic, and I see the only things I see on his filmography is he was on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, and some things like that. So
but anyway,
a little bit better that I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
I just was gonna say I think that Susie was really insensitive the way that she handled this because he's so far gone. Nothing that she says is gonna help. It's just rubbing salt in the wound, and I don't think that Susie knew it. I don't think she was trying to be mean or whatever, but the way that just Susie being Susie, she's like, you're fucking sucking, dude. Stop sucking. Be better.
Did you forget
you're better
how to be
than
funny?
This. Yeah. Just the way that she was. Oh, I was like, Susie, no.
Tough love.
Be nice.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's not, it's too late.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all she knows. I don't think she knows how to deal with someone like that. He needs so much more than tough love at this point. He needs an intervention. And he probably is so far gone he couldn't.
Well, and you think about how little was really known about addiction at that point, and how, there's still stigma that exists today, but especially back then, people I feel like there was a lot of judgment first, as opposed to any sincere interest in helping.
Right.
They were just watching him, wilt away. Which is just awful.
Yeah, thank God people understand today that it's a true sickness. It's a disease, addiction.
Right.
But I gotta say, even for myself, when I got out of rehab, there were a lot of people who treated me like, well, you did this to yourself. It's your problem, And I feel like those people were kind of older typically, but still, it's still not great,
Yeah, that's not a fun thing to hear. It's thanks, guys. Very encouraging and uplifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's what I needed to hear. That's going to get me.
Seriously.
I mean, this was such a sad way to start the episode. And one thing, when he was trying to get up and she's like, "What are you trying to do? You're trying to stand up." And
the poignancy.
I'm like, he can't do stand up anymore, and he can't physically stand up. It's like he can't step foot into a club. He is beaten to the ground. And Susie wants to help him. I think she wants to help him because Midge asked. I don't know. Maybe that's why she's just like, oh, I'll do some. I have favors. Someone's going to help him.
She mentions Albert Grossman.
Yeah.
Who's a manager and who's a singing. He reps musicians though, like folk music and rock music.
And he has no desire to do anything. He doesn't want any favors at this point. He says, use them for someone worthy. And then he mentions, is Midge there? Is she here? But this is right as he was about to leave. He just remembered, is Midge here? And Susie tells him no.
There's an interview in The Hollywood Reporter where Amy Sherman Palladino says, I think Midge sent in an unemotional person for him to deal with because I think seeing her would be too embarrassing.
Yeah.
It could be all sorts of things for him that I think she didn't want.
Yeah.
And all she wanted was somebody to yank him out. And I think she sort of felt like if Susie can't do it, then nobody can do it.
That's
she talked
very
about
valid.
Yeah.
Yeah. She said it would be, she talked about in that interview that it would be too much for Midge, and Midge also didn't want to make him feel embarrassed. So
well, I think
right on.
Rachel Brosnahan, the way that she played it and the look on her face when Susie was just like, coming out and confirming like, nope, not good. Like he doesn't want any help. Like she just looked utterly heartbroken, and you could see the tears welling up, and I was just like, God, this is sad. But I was sure in that moment, I was like, this is not going to be the way they have us remembering Lenny. This cannot be the last scene. Like we are going to get something else. And I was,
thank goodness.
I was just like, thank God we did, because this was pretty brutal to watch, but I think it was necessary.
Yeah. And it was, they were playing Downtown in the background, which is, so sentimental.
Yeah. It was very ominous sounding, because usually that song has like a cheery quality to it.
Yeah.
I don't know though. That song can be quite ominous.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did a dance recital to that. And like first grade, we had a jazz dance recital with that song. And now as an adult, I'm just like, that was an interesting choice.
And also interesting choice because that was a big song that it'll always remind me of Girl Interrupted. I feel like it will always remind a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that has its connections to,
drugs,
rehab, and
Well, my dance teacher was like an ex-Broadway artist stuck in Houston, Texas. So she was probably getting things out that way.
Yeah, no, that song has aged very strangely. And I feel like Girl Interrupted kind of was a part of that.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All I have to say is I want a Lenny Bruce spinoff, though. Luke Kirby,
I know.
There's an article where he talks about the things that he would like to do, or I think it was in a video interview. He talked about some of the things he would have liked to show as Lenny Bruce, and he mentions an Australian tour that Lenny did that he would have loved to perform. Yeah. And I loved it too. And in that interview, he's so cute. He says he didn't expect Lenny to appear more than just the pilot.
Aww.
And he had no idea like what it would lead to.
That chemistry.
Yeah. I'm just so glad they decided to bring him back for more, because Luke Kirby as Lenny Bruce is incredible. This is a role, like he was born to play this role.
Oh, yeah.
He did him right.
He's gotten so much better at it as the scene or as the show has continued on, every time you see him, he just gets deeper in the performance to the point where now it's like there's no separation between him and Lenny.
He embodies
so
him wholeheartedly.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. And
I know there's a movie with Dustin Hoffman from the 70s. What is it called? Lenny, I believe. I've never seen it. I actually would like to see it, but maybe that's something he can do. Maybe they can remake it.
It'd be fun. I would watch it.
Ooh,
but I mean, it's 50 years old, so maybe, they love to do remakes.
It's true.
You could do it in your podcast.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, I'd be there to podcast on that shit for sure.
Yeah.
No, Luke Kirby is so hot right now. I will watch anything he's in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Coming up, he's going to be in the new Amy Sherman Palladino show. Excited.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, we have a ton of amazing articles and links to YouTube videos too that I'm going to put in the show notes. There's a bunch of stuff that talks about Lenny's actual life and how he went through his career, and then eventually how it ended. And yeah, they did a really great job of showcasing him in the show, and I love the way that it ended in that last scene with him. We'll get there later though, but I'm very glad that this was not the last we saw of Lenny.
Yeah, me too.
Agreed.
All right, so let's keep it moving. What's the next scene?
Oh goodness.
Midge and Susie.
I was cracking up at Susie getting awakened so rudely by those cops disturbing her sleep. And when he's like hitting her like with his little baton and poking her, and she starts hitting him back, he's like, hey, stop it. And she goes, you stop it. And just like the slapstick and physical comedy of that whole scene made me really happy. Like when she's running away from the cops and you see her with the cop's hat on and the baton in the air.
It needed the Benny Hill music, didn't it?
Yeah. That was one of those moments that felt very much like a musical without the musical aspect of it.
Yeah.
It felt like a cartoon
Yes.
too, you know? Yeah, it was like
She was
very
on that oversized
Scooby-Doo.
She's that tiny little person on that oversized bench.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that part of Central Park, I got so excited because I just remember going there like every day on our lunch breaks when I was going to theater school, like right around the corner. I just got so excited. I was like, my bench! Oh my god! But there's a song that's playing. It's a live recording of Bobby Short. I Happen to Like New York. I love this song, guys. I have thought of this song
perfect for that moment.
It's so perfect. It's so perfect for this show. I've thought of this song and wondered why they haven't played it on this show. It's probably my favorite song about New York ever. I want this song to be played at my funeral. I just feel so close to this song. I don't know. And Bobby Short's voice, like, it's so perfect for it because you can hear like the cigarettes and the exhaustion.
Oh, yeah.
He's got this relentless determination in that song, though, and this like booming enthusiasm that's like quintessentially New York. It's just so good. Like, it's just such a beautiful performance of that song. I love Bobby Short. I love everything about it. So
and it was a beautifully shot scene. Like you could see the trees, the colors. I'm guessing they filmed it in the fall because like you could see the colors of the trees. It was
nice.
Dawn. It was so pretty. It was gorgeous.
Well, and I like how, of course, like, you know, the series opens essentially with Susie going to pick up Midge from jail, and we're ending it with Midge. That was that phone call that she had to rush out for. That was a phone call.
It was not an emergency like we thought. I was so happy.
Ha ha, Amy Sherman Palladino and Dan Palladino. You got us. Everyone's thinking, Abe's going to have a heart attack. And I was like, God, I feel like an idiot now. But Tony Shalhoub looked like his heart was stopping. He looked like something was going on, man.
They set it up where it would have made a lot of sense. But I liked this better, I think.
I like this so much better. This is so.
It was so light.
It was adorable,
and fun, and of course, Susie gets out. Like she's out in like a couple of hours. It seemed like because she plays poker with the chief of police. Because of course she does.
Of course she does.
Like that was hilarious.
And Midge is like, well, I feel very safe now.
It's like good
anyone
to
who
know.
plays poker.
This is how justice works around here. But leading into this, you know, that raw conversation with Midge and Susie, finally talking about Hetty. That setting in that restaurant was stunning. I loved the lighting in there. Everything about it was so aesthetically pleasing.
I wanted to get that chocolate cake for $2.
I was just like, it's a great deal.
Yeah, there's an article that talks about how they rebuilt that whole, what's it called?
H&H?
It's called something else. Automat.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was cool.
It's so cool.
And then, I don't know, that was almost gonna be my most marvelous moment, is finally seeing Susie open up. And I also obviously wanted to pat myself on the back for calling it for her relationship with Hetty, and it essentially, you know, getting her to the point where she doesn't see herself ever falling in love again. Like, she was so in love with Hetty and so deeply scarred by that experience that she's basically written off finding love. I think there was an article that I wanted to point to where Amy Sherman Palladino and Dan Palladino are talking. And I think it's that same, or it's Alex Borstein in that same Hollywood Reporter article maybe that you were referencing, Jade. She mentions that, you know, she felt like Susie's only love that she ever actually had or went after was Hetty. And she said, I think maybe she had other physical relationships, but I think Hetty was it. I think the next romance in her life was Midge. I think that was the next person she fell in love with, and that was never physically realized. It was platonic, but it was just as deep and just as powerful. But I really think that Hetty kind of crushed her heart. I don't know that she was ever able to go after that again. She was the first and last. And that, I think Alex Borstein did a brilliant job making that come across in that scene.
Yeah.
Like, my heart was breaking for her and how vulnerable Susie was in that state. And I thought Midge received it very gracefully and acknowledged her. You know, like, if I knew this, I would never had gone to you and told you had to talk to her. And Susie was like, no, I'm your manager. But I thought it was nice that Midge acknowledged that point. Like, she has feelings.
Yeah.
She cares about Susie. She doesn't want to see her in pain. And the way that Susie was kind of downplaying her own appeal and talking about how it didn't make any sense. Like, I know you don't know what she saw in Midge is like, I know exactly what she saw in you.
I loved that.
That just like made, I think I even watching it, like, I put my hand up to my heart and I was like, oh, because she does. And she's not full of shit. Like, she genuinely means it. She understands Susie's worth and appreciates Susie for who she is. But the way that Susie talked about Hetty, I was just like, yeah, you were hurt bad. Like, when she said that Hetty would come in and ask for sugar cubes, even though there were sugar cubes on the table. And when she finally talked to her about it, she's like, I just wanted to talk to you. And Susie said 8 fucking words that cursed my life.
Yeah.
I think it was important for us to finally get that insight into Susie's, you know, relationship and in her head. And I saw that scene as completely platonic. And I thought it was interesting scrolling through Facebook that there were some other people that were like, no, she loved her. Like, that was kind of her.
You mean Midge?
Yeah.
So there's an interview with Alex Borstein where she talks about this. And she said they were asking her, what's the saddest detail about the Hetty story? And she said, there's 2. One is the 8 words this woman said to her, but I just wanted to talk to you. That somebody showed interest in her for the first time in her life, and you could see her crack when she even relays that. Then the moment when Midge says, I think you'll find love again. And Susie looks at her and asks if she were ever a blonde. She's found her love again. It will always be platonic with Midge, but it's the greatest love of her life because she's the one that sticks around. That moment's very heartbreaking to me. That after being asked if you'll ever love again, Susie asks her if she was ever a blonde. So according to Alex Borstein, it's like we've been saying this whole time, Susie has a type. Hetty and Midge have their similarities, you know? So she looks at as soon as Midge says, I think you'll find love again, Susie looks up and she's like, I already did. You know, like, were you ever a blonde? Yep, I figured. Of course you were. You know, and I don't think that Susie, I just don't feel that Susie is thinking to herself, I'm just going to be close to Midge, who I love in that romantic way, any possible way that I can be close to her, even though she'll never love me. No, I think that these 2 women love each other equally on the same level. I don't think... I feel that Susie is completely content loving Midge in this way. This is her ride or die. This is her wife, husband, whatever you want to call it, her partner. You know,
I agree.
I love that
completely agree.
They didn't make it romantic on, you know, one-sided romance.
On one side, yeah. No, I think Alex Borstein's acting completely communicated that. I didn't need the article to tell me, you know. People love to ship things, guys, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, that's completely true. But there is one Entertainment Weekly article, and I definitely encourage you guys to go read it. It'll be linked in the show notes.
Yeah, that's the article that I was quoting from.
With Amy Sherman Palladino.
Palladino.
Yeah. That's a good sign. It's not even that late yet. The interviewer said, Susie comes clean to Midge about Hetty and the nature of their relationship. Is this the first time she's told anyone? And what does it cost her to admit this? And ASP said, you know, it is the first time she's ever probably given extreme details about this. And she said the crux of this whole season was really about their relationship, Midge and Susie. If Susie had not met Midge, Susie would probably still be humping at the gaslight. she would still not have found her way out. She had shut herself down to possibilities in life. A lot of it because of the Hetty situation. Midge opened that door back up. The story of Midge and Susie are two people brought together by ambition, by a dream, and by circumstance. They never would have achieved what they achieved without the other person there. It was another moment in Susie's life where Susie could not have been anything if Midge hadn't walked into her life that way. The one person who, no matter how many times she said, "Fuck you, get away," did not get away was Midge. And it's true. Like, Susie is not the most warm and welcoming person, but
she's not easy to know.
No.
Yeah.
But Midge was basically like, "Fuck you, I'm in your life. Like, we're gonna be friends. I'll get you to say you love me someday and that you're my friend."
Yeah.
And I love that dynamic between them, that it comes back down to two ambitious, strong as hell women basically helping each other out and helping the other one fulfill their dreams, which is a really cheesy sentence, but I loved it. Like, I'm still all there for Midge and Susie's relationship, and I'm still kind of sad we didn't get to see more of it this season.
I know. And I'm also sad that we didn't get to see anything more with Nina Arianda. We didn't get any one last head. And I would have settled for even like a knowing, thankful nod.
Yes.
When
in
Midge,
the audience.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know though. Maybe not. I don't know. I just wanted more. I just want more of everything.
Yeah, more of everything, please. Like,
there was a couple. Yeah. I wanted to see more of Moish. I was sad he wasn't in the audience either, because he's the one person that didn't realize that she was funny.
Dude,
did you see
I have thoughts.
on his Instagram? He responded to a comment. Kevin Pollak responded to a comment. Good Lord, y'all. I have not been drinking. Responded to a comment that somebody was like, where was Moish? We missed Moish, like, covering and on painkillers. And I guess Kevin Pollak had a personal conflict that could not be worked out, and that's why he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like,
that's really weird though, because I have the quote. Amy Sherman Palladino had said, "No, it was a choice that we made. Shirley and Moish had their last moment when they were laying on that floor together in the shower, and like it was a choice we made to write Moish out." And I'm like, no, bad choice then, because
boo.
Yeah, boo. Yeah, I was very upset to not see Moish.
Finding that he had a personal conflict is a little bit more understanding.
Yeah, that was the only thing that made sense to me when he commented that. I was like, oh, okay, that checks out.
I love Kevin Pollak. Thank you, Kevin Pollak, for letting us know.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's so fun.
Yeah, this scene, to just say my little piece about it, like, I adore these moments from Alex Borstein. Could watch it all day. Oof. More, please. Every time Alex Borstein gets a moment, like at Jackie's funeral, that was my favorite. My favorite episode of the whole show, and definitely my favorite Alex Borstein moment was at Jackie's funeral. But this one, she just has such a way of delivering these lines so that it just hits you right in the gut, man, because she's so raw about it. And I had just these personal connections to her story. Like when she talked about the unnatural pairings and like, what did she see in me?
Yeah.
And she talked about looking like Hetty's dog in that hat. I got so choked up because it just, I had a girlfriend, we were together for a long time, and I thought she was the one. We were living together, and she was so wealthy, so clearly like better than me, in my opinion at the time. Like I felt stupid sometimes around her because we had, not like we had nothing in common, but the things that we did have in common were just our love for each other. And like the way that Susie was talking about, like, oh, this bitch, she's
sometimes
crazy,
it's not enough.
Yeah. Like, I just like
different worlds.
Yeah, the different worlds, and the way that like they couldn't relate on very many levels. And she's like, but then when Susie was talking about how she's smart though, and she was funny, like the way that she said she's funny.
Oh, that was
I was dying,
that
dude.
Hurt.
It was exactly the way that I would have described, my ex. Oh God, it just really, really hit me, this whole Susie storyline.
Well,
like,
and
it really close.
No wonder her greatest fear is feeling insignificant. Like this was such a core traumatic experience for her. It shaped the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And I just, Alex Borstein is underrated. Like, she needs all the attention, all the Emmys. Like, it just,
Yes.
I don't know. I can't remember the last group of actors that made me feel so much.
Oh my God, tell me about
Yes.
it. Tell me about it. Between Rachel Brosnahan, Tony Shalhoub, and Alex Borstein, I will be very interested to watch the awards, the Emmys this year.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be sweeping it up, I think. This is going to be an everything, everywhere, all at once Mrs. Maisel moment.
It better be.
Here for it.
It better be.
Yep.
I loved how when she was talking about how that they, like, their dream was to move to Egypt and rent out camels to the rich stupid people, and how they wanted to adopt 4 ugly kids
and raise them to be arrogant bucks and confuse the shit out of everyone.
I hope she did. I hope she did that. I hope that still became part of her dream.
No, she just got a bunch of exotic birds.
Yeah, she did, and named one of them Whore.
I loved that.
Maybe she taught them to say rude and arrogant things to people.
I hope so.
Oh, you know it. You know it.
Yeah. It was that
Susie was my spirit animal.
Yes. Yeah. But it was very, and that she burned that fucking hat, because I think just saying that, Hetty must have said something about that hat, like must have said that Susie was cute with that hat and loved that hat.
Yeah.
And she burned that fucking hat after.
You guys, I was like sobbing through this scene, like sobbing. I'm not kidding you. Like it hit so close to me. Oh my God,
That's rough.
Okay.
I know.
I'm not gonna think about it too hard. But like already at this point in the episode, I'm like, God damn, I'm a goner.
It's like it just started.
It's like we're 10 minutes in and I'm sobbing at fucking
But you know what?
Alex Borstein.
They at least put all this like heavy, deep, like kind of digging into the characters where they're at and either in the past or now. They did in the beginning.
Yeah.
And allowed us to kind of go through the rest of the episode with some levity and some anxiety.
That's true.
To get through those last 4 minutes.
Yeah,
but
it was nice cutting to Abe and Rose and brilliant little Esther, who was totally her idea for Ethan to run his head under hot water. I was like, thank you. This is the levity that I need right now.
I wonder if that was another kind of like Amy Sherman Palladino, Dan Palladino going, haha, we also might have said like maybe the kids were sick, and that's another reason why that phone call, because they were pretending to be sick.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yep.
Who knows?
Yeah, Abe and Rose are having trouble disciplining the children because they were outsmarted. They called them nitwits and dodo birds behind their backs. And Abe was like
so cute.
So indignant about it.
They faked illnesses and rubbed our faces in it. So funny.
And Rose is like, they should be punished. And Abe, good idea. I'm going to The Voice.
Yep.
Well, you don't expect me to do it. They have no idea. And then Midge comes home and he's like, oh, good, their mother can do it. And it's like, no, she won't. No. And then Rose is so concerned with like, they say the children who lie become violent criminals. How does that not concern you? And Midge is like, no, not particularly. I thought as their mother, you'd like to do something about it. Like what? How should I know? Well, there you have it. I learned from the best.
Yep.
That line, that was
a little bit of a burn there at Rose.
Yeah. This episode had a lot of little unsettling bits about the children.
I loved it.
I loved it too. Oh, I loved it. It's real, baby. Give it to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it made me appreciate those flash forwards so much more because they paid off, man. Took about, 8 episodes, but they fucking paid off.
They did. And we don't have to worry about them because we go, oh yeah, that was in the beginning.
Yeah.
We know what happened to the kids.
Yeah. I don't know I'm not sure what the show is trying to say about Midge as a parent. It goes back and forth between like her as a bad mom being funny, but then the flash forwards at the beginning of the season take it to a very serious level. And then here we are at the finish back to like lighthearted joking. Being a bad mom, isn't it hilarious? I don't know. It's kind of like a loose end that they never really tied up, but that's life.
I don't see her as a bad parent. I see she's a very good parent. I see she's a working mother.
Yeah.
And it's very
a working mother before that was a thing.
Yes.
Exactly. Like she can't be both. Like she can't be a stay-at-home mom and work, but she tries. She does multiple things. She's supporting her family. I think she's a great mom. She might not do a traditional job. She might be doing things that some people don't agree with what she does, but I don't think she's a bad mom. She might not have been home a lot, And that is difficult on the relationships of the kids, but I don't think that makes her a bad mother.
No, I don't think she's a bad mother.
Well, and even Amy Sherman Palladino has said, Midge essentially was before her time in terms of acknowledging that, hey, maybe I wasn't meant to be a mother. And she says that in the pilot episode when she gets up on stage at the Gaslight. She brings that up. And ASP is also talked about, like, look, Midge was in that time where you were expected to have kids. And if she and Joel were married today, they would probably not have kids. Mm-hmm. And I think it is an interesting, like, it's, it's funny because it's a comedy, but I think it's an interesting take at, the kind of consequences that we face when you put all these societal pressures and expectation on women, yes, who are maybe pressured or forced to have children when that is not something that they see for themselves or not something that they want to do, but they end up one way or another being in that situation. And I thought it was pretty pertinent and kind of a more lighthearted take on what that looks like without getting too political.
Yeah. Times have changed.
Yep.
And it's luckily we do live in a society where parents can both have careers and still have families if they choose to do so.
But one of the reasons that I liked the ending is, and obviously we'll get there, I'm kind of jumping, but I didn't see Midge's loneliness or Midge's living alone the way that she is sad, because we see she had that life. She had well, not 3 before 30, but she had the husband and 2 kids and like the perfect life, that the housewife life. And she was so unhappy. She was just like, get me out of here. She was scaling the walls. Like her house was so clean and pristine.
She was obsessing over her body image and
altogether too much time on her hands, too much
measuring her body every day. And it was a lot.
So unhealthy. She was just focused on all the wrong things, and she had so much to give and nowhere to put that.
See, it's funny that you say that, because that was my interpretation for the most part. And I think a lot of it is also me projecting on how I would have felt in that housewife situation that she was in, where she's, putting on face cream and curlers every night and putting on makeups before her husband wakes up. But
making briskets, like it's her fucking job.
But there, Amy Sherman Palladino, there are a couple of articles that have come out within the last week. She and Dan both see it as Midge loved her life before. Like there's a quote in an EW article where it's saying like she redefined what a big life is. And ASP said she thought, I've got the big life. I'm the most popular girl in my neighborhood and everybody loves me and listens to me. And I've got the 2 kids and I got a nice looking husband and my mom and dad are upstairs and I got a great apartment. That's what her version of a big life was. She learned what a big life really could be, at least for her, as the series went on. And essentially, we can put it up in the show notes, but she goes into realizing, okay, well, I was great at this. And now I want to be great at this, and seeing it as 2 different successes, and how
I could see that
good Midge was at being a housewife. And they talk about that in her relationship with Rose, and we see how close they were at the beginning of the series. And Midge saw Rose kind of as,
the ideal,
her hero. Yeah, they were like best friends, and then the pilot. And that's a TV Line article where ASP goes into a little bit more of detail about that.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really interesting that they saw it as Midge excelling in her life as a housewife. And there's one quote where they say Midge was never happier than the day before her life essentially blew up when Joel left her.
Yeah. I can see that. I can see that as being the case, but the way that I interpret it is that she didn't. It's like she kind of woke up to the reality of the fact that Joel wasn't happy.
She took what is it, the blue pill or the red pill?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which one is
like
it?
She thought it's disturbing. I'm sure it was disturbing to her how she thought that her husband was completely content, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, you're cheating on me. Oh my God, you're leaving me. Like, when did this occur? Where have I been? Where have you been? Where have we been? Who have I been living with? You know, that's not only scary and terrifying.
Betrayal.
That's like shocking. Yeah.
Well,
so
her romantic life was satisfied early on. Like, she was happy and had all that, you know, success then. And then it's like a switch flipped. And her eyes were opened. It's like in Wizard of Oz when all of a sudden it's in color.
It's in color, yeah.
Like, her eyes are opened up to what she can actually achieve.
I guess what I think is that if you could ask Midge in that big, huge palatial, you know, palace, whatever, where with no one around, would you go back to your old life? I'm sure that Midge would say no.
Yeah, I would.
If it's a toss up between having that old life and no stand up comedy career, or having the stand up comedy career without the family or whatever, she would pick the being a comedian.
Yeah.
And I think she said that last episode when, who was it? Petra said, like, now when you remarry and you do this and that, basically, once you remarry and go back to like your old life, you can look back at this. And
Midge is
that's when she realized, no, I don't want to go back to that.
Yep. I feel like that would be a hell no from her.
Yeah,
for sure.
And there's been a time before when Midge has said, I am going to be alone forever. Like, she's already said this, you know, she's actualized it. And although she'll try to get married several more times. Yeah. She knows who her real person is, you know. It's not a husband.
Yeah.
So anyway, Midge goes to the writer's room after Rose tells her.
Before you go on, I wanted to just mention that when she's changing in her for the first time, the paintings on the wall.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you notice that? The painting from when she's changing.
Oh, yeah. From the
one episode.
With
her
Benjamin.
first, the first painting that she ever bought was there again. It was just looking. She was looking at us.
That was a nice
and it came,
touch.
Yeah. The painting that came with a hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because she wanted that girl to tell her the joke.
I miss Benjamin.
Yeah. Like, it was like her Mona Lisa.
I miss Benjamin too.
I miss Benjamin too. Okay, so Midge goes to work and she like word vomits all over Alvin. This was funny. And she keeps calling her parents. She's like, I have very old parents. My parents are elderly. Like,
rude.
What she means is like they're helpless idiots.
Yeah.
But she just kept calling them old and elderly. I'm like, actually, you have very young parents.
Did I mention that they're old? They're old.
Like, she was saying like how insensitive they're being to the fact that I have children and very old parents. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? What are you talking about? And then, when she leaves the room, and did she say her children were sociopaths?
That was great.
It's like, ew. That was so funny. So then Gordon offers her a spot on the show, and I could not hate him more.
That was so uncomfortable.
Cringe.
Oh, when she
so
comes
bad.
in and so how'd it go with Jack Parr? You didn't wow him? Oh my God. And then she says, I'm patient. Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. Is that what you called out your hounds? I'm like, oh, Gordon.
I would have said, you're calling your wife a hound?
Seriously.
Right?
He was such a jerk. Dick in this episode. And I still don't really get it. Like, I feel like he should not, I don't know. Like, I know that it's the Palladino show and he had direction, but I feel like it's not consistent with how he was at the beginning.
Nope.
Like, he has seen her. Nope. He thought she was hilarious. Like, he's seen her live at least 2 times now.
But he didn't give a shit about her.
What about their date and dance at the diner?
But it seemed like he did. Like, at that point.
Did that even happen?
That's the scene that throws me off. I was like, he did appreciate her. And they acknowledge, like, in multiple interviews that him coming around at the end of this, segment was genuine, and he realized she really had it, and he thought she was great. And I was like, then why did you make him be such an asshole?
Such an asshole. Yes. Okay.
Maybe we needed one more scene with him and Hetty. You know, like, see?
Yeah.
We needed more.
Gosh.
So, okay, when Gordon eats his words at that point, whatever, fuck it. I just want to, I'll get this out of the way because when we actually get to talking about that scene, I want to talk happy things. So let's just talk about fucking Gordon Ford right now. When he says this, you know, here, I need to introduce this girl, this woman to you. I didn't introduce her. She's making her first, but definitely not last appearance on the Gordon Ford show. May I present the magnificent, the magical, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. The fact that Gordon says that line, I said, screamed out loud, why him? It almost ruined it for me.
I would have preferred Mike to say it.
Yeah. I was like, why not Lenny?
Yes.
Lenny, why not Susie? Why not Aber, Rose?
Or the announcer.
Or fuck, even Joel. No, it couldn't have been the announcer. That's not personal enough. But even fucking Joel, I would have been satisfied with any of those people calling her the marvelous Mrs. But you had to make it Gordon Ford. I had my Mrs. White flames on the side of my face, breathing, breath is heaving.
I hated him so
much. Okay.
Oh God, I love Chloe.
So anyone who has an issue with the Joel redemption story, I would really like to know, what do you think of this Gordon Ford moment? Because he completely changes his mind about Midge 360 in a matter of 5 seconds. And you could see on what's his name?
Reed Scott.
I always forget his Reed Scott, thank you. I always want to call him Scott Reed because Reed is a weird first name. I can't, whatever. So you can even see it in him. It is difficult for him to make this transition as an actor. This writing that he is given, he's like, wow. If I'm thinking of this in terms of how would I act that, right? Because I'm given some fucking crazy scripts in my life, some weird ass shit that I'm like, okay, how am I going to believably take this character from A to B like this? I mean, in 5 lines, how am I going to go from feeling one way to feeling completely a different way? You got to figure it out as an actor. That's your job. Fucking figure it out. No one's going to help you, especially not in film, in television. It's like directors often don't work with you. And I don't know how ASP works with her actors, but I could see him struggling as an actor. I could see it because it's not believable.
It doesn't make sense with how, like,
we've seen him be a jerk, but not to that level of like.
Yep. The first time
pettiness.
That's the thing.
Petty.
The first time that I thought, I was like, whoa, this is not, who is this guy now? Was when he reacted to Hank Azaria's character, Danny Stevens, coming on and trying to poach Midge. Like, the way he reacted in that moment, like, I could see him getting a little irritated, but I just, like, the way he was painted and portrayed before that is that he was kind of smoother than that and wouldn't get his feathers as ruffled. And I was like, why are they making him?
I don't know.
Do you think it's because he thinks? Does he think that? Does he feel like emasculated by Hetty because she did that, or by?
He definitely did not like. He has control issues. That is 100% clear.
Because he's the boss. Remember, he's the boss.
Yep. He did not like them going around him, and I think if they had tried or been a little bit more patient and had a different approach where it would be his idea and they could convince him and kind of manipulate him into doing that, it would have been really different. I don't
But the way that
it's consistent for him to be this petulant.
Well, okay, I don't know if I would agree with that because I have seen him as anyone who's listened knows that I've seen him as nothing but petulant for quite a while now. I think that they were trying to show him as being smooth. Kara, it's lovely that you saw that smoothness and that it worked for you. Never worked for me. But the way that I saw that this storyline played out, to take him to this place where he's saying, ladies and gentlemen, the magical, the mystical, the marvelous Mrs. It read as schmaltz to me. This is cheese. It did not work. This is, I'm sorry, bad writing. It's just, the whole Gordon character has been poorly written from start to finish. I just don't know what to make of it.
I agree with you. I still love that moment.
I know.
Okay. Yes. I still. Okay. Yes. Yeah. That's why I want to talk about it now, because when we get to the actual scene and we're breaking that part down, I want to be talking about fucking Rachel Brosnahan in that moment. Yeah. Who never looked more beautiful in her freaking life.
I know.
Oh man. But yes, I think that with Joel, the way that it was spread, his character arc, his redemption arc, the way that it was spread over an entire, like, several seasons,
Yeah.
I can digest it. I can accept it. Do I like it? No, not all the time. But done this way, this is the Palladino's weakest point.
Over 8 episodes or 9 episodes, yeah. It was very, like, it was going up and down, up and down.
It's not consistent. Well, and
it's reasons like this that the Gilmore Girls is annoying at times because they pull things out and they contrive a plot and they contrive a character to just make something work. When, you know what, I can think of about 10 different ways that this could have been played that it would have worked just as well, if not better. So
because they clearly wanted it to come off, like they have stated point blank that they wanted it to come off that Gordon was genuine in his, like, appreciation for her in this moment. And this is the man who was ready to, like, physically manhandle her to pull her away from that mic. He looked mutinous when she said, you know, it's the thing about, like, I've never really been one to follow the rules or something like that. I was like, he looks scary right now. Like, he's about to lose it. And then to just, like, start laughing and chuckling in his chair and, like, so I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, this, it bothered me.
I saw it as an actor, and it looked so forced. This was, like, bad. It wasn't even bad acting. It's just an actor trying to act a bad script.
He couldn't help it.
No, yeah. Susie said it perfectly. Susie was like my inner monologue when she was talking to Joel. He's a baby being driven solely by his ego and paper-thin nutsack, so he bumped her to the stool. The audience started laughing, and I guess he shit his diaper.
Yep.
I was like, yes, Susie!
Yep. Yep.
Perfect way of describing it. So, anyway, back to this moment with Midge in Gordon's office. He's such a dick when he's, problem? Not convenient? Do you want to have your girl talk to my girl? And, you know what? Why don't I just postpone the whole fucking show until you figure out your schedule? And it doesn't bother you that I'm thrilled? I was like, fuck off. He's just such a piece of shit child.
He was awful.
And he doesn't even have, like, the brains to hide the fact that he's upset. He's like, you better shut the door because when I hurl this glass at the door, it'll fly into the bullpen and hit someone in the head. Lawsuits. I was like, grow up, you dick. Like, at least be a man and try to hide your feelings.
See, that didn't make sense to me. I was just like,
it didn't make sense. I get what you're saying, Kara. This is character inconsistency.
Like,
that line when he was talking about hurling the glass at the door, I was like, even this petty fucking asshole that he has been for me, he would not be such an idiot to say this.
A little dramatic. Like, it was a little much. But I did like Midge when, you know, he is clearly upset and overreacting. And you can see, like, Midge taking a second, and when she pauses and she says Gordon, and she's about to either, it seems like, console him or attempt to smooth things over or make some sort of comment, and then she stops herself, because when she started talking I was like, don't, and I was like, oh, don't. I wonder. I was like, that's kind of fun. But you could see her, like, resolve, like, okay, nope, like, I'm gonna take this, I've earned it, like, he can pout if he wants to. And I'm going to go celebrate.
And do my little happy dance.
Yeah.
I'm going to go change.
Yeah.
Because, good Lord, that reaction just seemed like, we know he's smug and he's an asshole, but that was awful. A little over the top for me, to where I was just like, I don't know if I buy that extreme.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
I agree.
So I'll be shutting up now about Gordon Ford. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry, anyone who doesn't agree, but that's our feelings. Those are my feelings. I did really like when she popped her head back into the writer's room and she said she had to go home and change. And they're like, you just changed. She's like, I could explain it to you, but there would be terms like side darts and ruching bandied about. Like, okay, just go. So Midge goes home to change.
And they were pissed about the rule, but then, like, when she kind of put them... She set it aside. They're like, I don't have to change.
Yeah.
There was Alvin. It was funny.
Or Mel.
No, that was Mel, yeah.
Oh, it's Mel. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's precious.
He's precious.
We're going to be talking about him soon.
Yes. Right? Only murders. And what was the cat's name?
Oh, God.
Evelyn.
Yeah. Evelyn number 7. Lucky number 7.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, God. I know. I can't wait too. So then we go into the Dinah, Susie, Maggie. They're having bucket problems.
I'm so happy we saw Maggie again.
I know.
And we saw Susie Meyerson and Associates, The Office again.
Yeah.
Yes. This bucket thing was so funny. Did it ever occur to you to tell him to just walk 2 feet to the left and have him actually drop it at Susie Meyerson and Associates? No, because we have the bucket. The bucket is fun. And what scares me is that we are 3 of the more intelligent people in show business.
That was great. Cute.
Love it.
And I love that there's like all this business still happening like in the background the whole time that the scene is going on when Midge comes in. So then Midge comes in and she's like, how does this outfit look? Does this outfit look like I could be on the Gordon Ford show? And Susie's like, you're gonna be on the Gordon. And she's like, fuck you. And I just love the way she goes, fuck you.
Yes.
That was
and the
perfect.
way they both scream, you're gonna be on the show. Like, oh my God, I was so excited in this moment.
Yeah.
Listeners, I'm sorry, but this is just gonna be a gush fest. Like, everything, I'm just like, I loved it. I loved it so much. When she said, I'm Antigone without the laughs.
That was fantastic.
It racked me up. Because if anyone's like read Antigone, if anyone, theater people, if you know Antigone, there are no laughs. It's like so tragic. It was really funny. That got my little theater self, cracking up.
Oh my gosh, my dogs are going insane right now. I'm just going to throw that out there. I'm not torturing animals at my house if you hear them.
Sorry, guys.
On the podcast.
Sorry,
and
listeners.
She prepped for this, but the doggies, they want to be heard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man.
I made a blockade and they are protesting.
Oh, God. So. Yeah, I'll try really hard to cut them out, but it's, pardon me, if I can't do it. So anyway, Susie turns to Maggie at the end of the scene, and you find us that squirrel. And she's like, on it. Yeah, the whole scene going on across the other building. And just, God, the beautiful, smooth camera work. And like, there's this moment where the camera moves around and Maggie in the background, she goes like in and out of focus at the perfect moment when she goes on it. Like she goes out of focus, then back into focus, then out of focus, and then back into focus. And you guys, I don't know shit about camera, but all I do know is that shit is hard to do. And they just do this. They do it like on the regular.
It looks like it's effortless, but you know it's not.
Oh my God. And it's the way that a camera like that can make a line funnier. You know, it's that when the camera goes into focus and you see Maggie in the background and she goes into focus right as she says on it, like it makes the line funnier, you know? It's just brilliant. It's just, this show is firing on all cylinders. Everyone in the crew. It's amazing.
Loved it so much.
So next scene, we get some Joel.
Right. Yes, we get some Joel. We get some Moish. We get some Shirley. We're back at the warehouse. It's the last time we're in the warehouse. And Joel gets a call from Midge, and she tells him the good news, and it was just so heartfelt and so sweet, and he's like sincerely proud of her. Like, it's you can hear it in his voice. He's just so excited for her. He gives her he gives the blessing of her to use him in her bit. It's like, just go right at it, and it just made me more excited for her.
Talk about growth. Good Lord.
Yes. And I did also notice when she leaned back, she put her elbow back. Yeah. With our friends, the pigeons, Karen.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, goodness gracious. So, but that was a really sweet little moment between Midge and Joel. That wasn't the last time they spoke, was it? She spoke with him back at the studio before the show, right? Beforehand. But it still is like one of the last times they interact before the finale is over.
I don't think that they actually speak. This is the last time. I think they just like have she blows him a kiss. That's all.
That's right.
Don't they have some sort of
No, I don't think they talk at all. No,
I don't remember.
he's just in the
That's it.
audience.
But I
this
did
is the
think
last time they
it
talk.
was very apropos that she said she was leaving the tickets for him under the one that got away.
Yeah, and their connection was absolutely deep there. Like, there's still love there. And, my little heart's like,
You could feel it.
yeah.
And, I felt like Michael Zegan, when he hung up the phone and was grinning ear to ear and had that little giggle, I was like, that's a Michael Zegan laugh. I've heard that laugh in interviews. I feel like he and Rachel had such a fun time filming that scene. The joy of these actors and their emotions coming through with this being the finale just made it so much more compelling to watch. And I was grinning like an idiot during that whole phone call.
Me too.
The fan in me loves it, but I'm just annoyed at the writing for making Joel so one-dimensional. I would have loved it for Joel to have any kind of an actual story this whole season. He has served to do nothing but make amends to Midge and give her everything for nothing in return except danger.
That's his penance for season 1.
The entire season was just one color for Joel, redemption, the color of redemption, But Michael Zegan is so damn likable. And like you're saying, this moment between these two actors, this whole last episode, I was reminded a lot more. I'm never, ever reminded these are actors when I'm watching this show. I get lost in it, even though it is so heightened and it is so unrealistic to the point of almost being fantasy level. This shit would never happen, whatever. It's so real to me. These characters feel so lived in. They feel so real people. We talk about them like they're real people because they feel like real people. But this episode, I was constantly Michael Zegan, Rachel Brosnahan. I was looking at the actors because they can't contain it, and not in the bad way, in the way that I'm happy for the characters, but I'm happy for these actors. Good job, guys, Yep.
Yeah. No, that's very, very fair. So we get into the warehouse and we see, again, I was so happy to see Archie and Joel, and they're talking about something that, was it something that Shirley did? She tricked Archie into buying all of these hoop skirts. And Archie is trying to fix it. And I was so thrilled to see Mrs. Mouskowitz one more time. She's one of my favorites.
Her name's Cynthia Darlow. I love her.
Love her. She's adorable. And I was just so happy. And then Moish and Shirley come out. Jolie!
With their canes.
And I was just not expecting this little flashback by Moish. It was so hilarious. All of a sudden we go back and we're talking about how Moish is getting up early to kind of take over the warehouse while the other guy who runs it is not there. And he falls and slips into the shower.
He drops the soap.
Yes. And of course he falls and it's really comical. And then Shirley starts screaming
in a fur coat.
Of course she was cold. Of course she was naked.
She said she grabbed
first thing she found.
Goodness gracious.
And then
when she comes in that bathroom though, and she goes, "Moish," and the look on her face.
It was so silly. It was so funny. That was. I think this is a perfect way for their characters to kind of resolve their ending. It was hilarious. It was over the top. It was bonkers. I loved it so much. And then she just collapses on him wearing the fur coat. And what did he say? It was like a wet yak.
Yeah. It was like having a wet yak on top of me.
And then they just talked. The kind of talk where I can't even quote it right. It was just so funny. But you know what? I wanted to be in that conversation. They looked so happy. They were just enjoying that moment of just being stranded together in probably a freezing cold shower at that point because the cleaning lady wasn't coming until mid-morning and they both hurt themselves. It was just terrible, but it was hilarious.
It was so sweet too.
It was extremely sweet.
You could only see them the mouthing these words because we couldn't hear exactly what they were saying. But there's a point where Caroline Aaron just goes, "I love you," and he just goes, "I love you," and they're and can I just say, Caroline Aaron, what a babe laying on that.
She looked so pretty during that scene.
All the actors looked. I've never seen them look so good than in this episode. Everyone was on gorgeous.
They looked
another
amazing.
level.
Yes.
Like, yeah. But seriously, Caroline Aaron, what a hottie. Laying on that floor, man. She's looking glamorous.
With her wet yak, fur coat. Ew. And it made me think back with the season where, Moish had the heart attack, and that was the end of season 4, correct? Yeah. And then, they like wanted to get a divorce and all because he was refusing to retire. But this little moment, again, another possible near-death experience allowed them to kind of finally understand what they needed to do. So they're retiring, they're going to sell the warehouse, and they're moving to Boca Raton and
moving to Boca. Good for them.
Good for them.
That's what I had in my notes. Exactly. Good for them.
Good for them.
Yes.
I know. I loved everything about this.
But my favorite line was what Moish said about, like, what was it? Life is precious. It's not about you.
Oh, yeah. You have to think of other people in your life.
What about the workers? Fuck them.
Fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them.
So good. I really love that scene. And it was, I think the only thing that made me sad again was like Moish was not at the actual live show, because I think it would have been perfect. Even if they said, even if they used some of the old footage of them watching the TV, I don't know. Like, come on, there's ways of doing this just to kind of show, like, because it was such a long
if he's
joke.
Sitting there, like, clearly high on painkillers or something, finally giggling at something that Midge says on the TV, like, I would have. It would
have been worth it. But
yeah, I mean, I wonder if I would rather, because I loved Shirley in that audience. I really did. Like, I loved her so much. Everything that she was doing was just enough. And it was just, so wrong it was right, like as Shirley always is. But I wonder if I would have liked it better just to have Kevin Pollak there, because I really felt his absence, guys. Like, I did too. I was annoyed, and like it took me out of it for a minute. I'm like, notable. Where is Moish? Why is Moish? No, are they really not going to I just thinking he's going to fly in on a he's going to do something weird to get himself in the scene. I'm like, where the fuck is Moish? It was like distracting to me, Like it shouldn't have been. So I'm like, maybe if they had Caroline Aaron stay home with him, and like then they could have cut to them. Yeah. They could have filmed it on another day. But would I rather have that and sacrifice no Caroline Aaron, no Shirley in the audience? Yeah, I really enjoyed Shirley in that audience.
Yeah, well, you could hear her so loud. What did she say? Ford, you're a genius.
Yes.
Or something.
That was so funny. I was just like, oh my God, Shirley.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know.
Love it.
But anyway, let's keep it moving.
Midge is, wraps up her phone call with Joel and is heading out, and obviously notices, like, oh shit, she got pigeon shit on her elbow. And needs to get a new dress. I loved that exchange when Susie's like, did you lean on the sill? You never lean on the sill. The sill belongs to the pigeons. It's just like, Susie is gone now. She is a bird person, and it is wonderful.
Yeah. She says something like, their world is small, Miriam. Give them something.
Yeah.
I thought of you, Kara.
I was thrilled. And then Dinah stepping up and saving the day to go
Dinah,
pick up dresses at bird doors.
Dinah, and the MVP. Can we just say?
I would have proposed to her too. So then they're, getting ready for what they think is supposed to be Midge's act in the dressing room. And I just enjoyed their exchange about the kids when Midge says, I'm wondering if I should mention the kids at all. And Susie's like, kids are relatable. Those little fuckers are everywhere.
Yes.
I was like, that is Amy Sherman Palladino speaking through Susie.
As she usually does.
Oh, yeah. And, Midge, I thought that whole exchange with Midge, Susie, and the actor playing the makeup artist was
hilarious.
Seamless. That fast, zippy dialogue, and, Midge's, no. And then she's like, of course I want you to do it. You're the professional. And then immediately it's like, no, like, we're not going to have it.
Why don't you just let me do it?
Like that whole scene I thought was acted flawlessly. Their timing was fantastic. And then
and we really get a glimpse into like what kind of a famous person Midge is going to be,
Oh, yeah.
We all know.
Like, how they tell Susie way back when she's about to go on tour with Shy Baldwin, she needs a weird ask for Midge, and it was like the fucking yellow teddy bears everywhere or something everywhere. Like
I thought it was rubber ducks.
No, it was teddy bears.
I think it was teddy bears.
I have to watch that season again.
Covered everywhere. Like I want to know what Midge's weird ask becomes after she gets her big break because you know it's there. Like I like to think, especially when Susie and her are estranged, it's like cream puffs or something that reminds her of Susie. But
oh yeah.
We definitely got a glimpse into
whipped cream.
Just pure whipped cream, just tubs of whipped cream.
That would be Susie's weird ass.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me happy. But Dinah, God, just saving the day, bringing in those Bergdorf dresses and getting them to essentially give them to Midge for free, just as long as Midge throws out a mention. And I will say, I loved that final big break dress that she was in with the off the shoulders with the bow. I think that may have been my favorite look throughout the entire series, like with the red nails and the red lip. Like she just looked spectacular.
See, I'm not the hugest fan of bows. My favorite look on Midge will always be the one night stand with Lenny Bruce dress.
Oh, that was
that like red tinted black skirt thing with the blue belt. Oh, just chef's kiss, baby. That was such a good look, and we got to see it again this episode. I was so like, when I saw that dress, I was like, oh, "This is the moment. This is the Chinese food scene." Oh my god, I was freaking out.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's when he went to go get her terrible Chinese food. No. But yeah, the Bergdorf saving the day moment just made me smile. I was like, Dinah is on top of shit. Like.
MVP. She is the MVP.
Yeah, Dinah, I am not marrying a comedian. Her response is not like, I don't go that way. It's just not a comedian.
Yeah,
no way.
Just like, hell no, I'm not doing that. But I don't know. This was also leading up to the next moment that I got teary-eyed in this episode when Midge gets Abe on the phone. I freaking loved that scene. I was tearing up. When at first it was great to see Rachel Brosnahan and Tony Shalhoub have the little comedic back and forth when she was like, I've been looking for you while I'm at work. I know that now. And she's like, well then, or he goes, well then, mystery solved. Goodbye, Miriam. And it was ready to hang up. I was like, damn it, man. Like, hold on. And his face when he says like, you're a guest? Like, well, I'll be. And when
he like says it under his breath like that. Yep. He's like, well, I'll be like he's thought of it before, you know, like this is not the first time it's crossed his mind. Like
it is happening.
It's happening. Yeah.
He is shook. And then, you know, I love she's like, I gotta go. I'm sitting here in the bullpen in my underwear. And he's like, I don't want to hear anymore. Like, don't tell me about that. But when he tells her, you know, like, wait, and she's like, yes. He goes, this is really wonderful. And I was
like all glassy eyes.
Yep. I was like, that is him. That is Abe telling Midge that he is proud of her. Like, that is the moment. And she, like, feels it. And that thank you, Papa, was so loaded and sweet. I was tearing up. I was like, shit, if they do any more of this, I'm in trouble. But
I know.
That was such a nice moment. And I loved
it was perfect for these two.
Like, these freaking writers too. Like, I love the addition of the kind of writer's room, almost, you know, Greek chorus kind of in the back this season, because when Midge hangs up the phone and you see her sitting there in her underwear, all of them are like gathered in the window just like staring at her, and they all quickly disperse except for Mel, who continues to glare at her.
Okay, but I was like, why is Midge in her fucking underwear? Not even like sitting in a chair. She's in a seductive pose, like displaying herself, leaning against the desk with the robe open. I'm like, why? Close your robe, girl. Like, I found this really distracting for a minute, like, and incredibly bizarre. And especially
she was very comfortable out in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Like, all right, Midge.
It was very strange. So then Abe goes to get Rose, right? And Rose doesn't want to go to the show. I guess she's like arranging the seating chart for like a matchmaking event. I don't know. They never say what it is, but that's what I think. And then